What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture, and today I'm doing a video telling you guys a story of how a local LCS has lost my business for good. For those that watch my channel, you all know that I usually keep it extremely positive, and I'm all about building businesses up. I have many LCSs in my local area that I frequent, and I give a shout out to every LCS that I possibly can. I have my Journos Journeys videos that I do where I showcase local shops. But today, that's going to take a different tone. So before we get into the video, though, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the awesome links below, including how you can cop some fresh Journos Comics gear and help support the channel. Check out how you can become members of the channel as well. And of course, as always, if you aren't subscribed to our Comic Book Canon YouTube, that link is below. We have live shows every Friday night. So let's get into this, man. It breaks my heart to make this video, and I've had a lot of issues with this store in the past. And I talked about them a little bit here and there, but I've always been very humble. I've never thrown the store under the bus. Today, I got to go there because what happened today should never happen at an LCS. Now, I moved out to the Sacramento area a little over 9 years ago. All right. And as soon as I moved out here, I was hitting up shops. I was finding places all over, as many shops as I could find. And this was one of the first shops that I found. All right. And what I liked about it at the time was that they had a lot of 50-cent bins. Back in those days, I was huge. I mean, hey, look, I'll still, you get me a bargain, I'll still dive 50-cent bins, or, you know, dive into 50-cent bins and dollar bins all day, every day. I don't really go as crazy as I used to, but I used to go to the comic book shop, especially this one, and I wouldn't even look at anything else. I would just go to the 50-cent bins. And I'd have my notebook with me. You know, it was before like apps like CLZ app and all that. I have my notebook with everything that I needed for all these different runs. You check them off, and I would spend an hour, 2 hours digging in the 50-cent bins, in the dollar bins. And I frequented this store quite often because of this. Now, let me paint a picture of the store a little bit. The store is in kind of an older building. It's not very well organized. They rent used DVDs and Blu-rays. They have Magic Gaming in the back. It's kind of skinny and long. And the way that's set up is you go in the front door and you have the register, right? Then you have a open space with tables in the middle, and you can walk around the tables. And then over here, you have the big shelving units with new comic books on them, all right, that are taller than me. And then on the other side of that, you have a little aisleway, again, with comic boxes of back issues up against the wall over there. Now, on that rack that's taller than me of new releases, you have DC and Independence on one side, and then you have Marvel on the other. And I don't really like this setup because the one thing that I always noticed when I went into the store is you go to the Marvel new releases, and they're all sitting up there without bags and boards, and they're wrinkled, and you can tell people are just back there reading them and doing whatever they want. And, you know, there's no eye to any part of the store. Everyone's kind of back there in that corner, in that, you know, secluded corner. So, you know, but hey, you got to work with the space that you got. But that's one thing that I noticed right away. So I never really looked at new comic books as something to purchase there. It was always back issues. Now you go into all the back issues up against the wall. There's a few back issues that are as marked, you know, price is marked. And then there's a ton of 50-cent boxes and a ton of $1 boxes on top of that. And they're in the cardboard cubbies, you know, that you can stack on. And I just go in there and I dig. So over the years, I've noticed that the back issues, that the 50-cent and $1 boxes, they're constantly stacked and shoved, like, to where you can't even get your fingers in there. They're just, he'll shove the books in there and make them like it's, you know, and it's really bad because when you got customers coming into a store and you're digging through a box of comics, and keep in mind, most of them aren't bagged. If they are, they're in old, nasty yellow polyethylene bags. Remember, this was the store that just a couple weeks ago there was books that had mold in them, growing in them. I brought that up in a video. So, you know, when you don't have breathing room in a box and you got kids, adults, whoever it is that's digging through them, you're going to damage the comic books. And most of them aren't even bagged and board. So you got books in there that are like missing the cover's ripped, and you can't even get to them. And I'm as careful as I can, but even when I'm digging through them, it's like, oops, I accidentally like put a rip in that one because I'm just trying to like see what they are. It's crazy. So most of the stuff that's in there, at this point, you wouldn't even buy for 50 cents. It's not even worth 50 cents anymore. So it's very dirty in there. Every time I get books, and if they are, whether they're, if they're not bagged, let me try it. And I got a few books here that I picked up today. Let me try to see if, I usually try to stay away from them, but a lot of the books that aren't bagged and boarded have grime, have this kind of soot, at least like on the tops, and you could feel it on your hands after digging through them. I got to bring like wipes to wipe my hands off with. And you can see like this one, how it's been, I don't know if you guys can see it on film, but you can see that it's been handled like, there's a bend back here, like somebody flipped it or trying to pull it up and put it back down in the box because it's so cramped. Corners are messed up. These are all dollar books. These were in the dollar box. So, and look, I picked these up, and these are like the best condition like this. You could tell that like it's being like manhandled, being looked in and out and pulled and whatnot. But, it's $1, whatever. I still picked a few up. And if they're in a bag and board, usually, you could feel that it's really nasty and dirty. So, the store's not well kept. I don't know if it's ever cleaned. What's really interesting is when you go and look at the new release racks, shelving units, there's still books up there that have been up there since I started going there. So say you have your Captain America, there's not even the new issue, but then there's issues that came out in like 2012 still sitting back there. And again, they're all beat up. You can tell they've been handled and read. So it's like, so if I bring this up to the counter, you're going to charge me cover price for a book that's all beat up and been sitting on this shelf out of a bag for 9 years. It's like, what's the point? Very, very dirty in the store. All right. Another issue that I had with them in the past, and I'm going to get to what happened today, but I'm just telling you my history first. The store has a lot of bundles, right? So he will bundle up 5 to 10 books and sell them as sets. I bought a set, I think it was like a 10-book set, or maybe an 8-book set of Thor books. And it said like issue number 3 something or 4 something. It was like late 80s Thor books. And I think it ended up coming out to be about like $2 a piece. This was a couple years back. And it's in one big like poly bag. And it says very fine near mint on a sticker. And then it tells you which issues they are. So I bought it, paid like 20 bucks for it or something, or 16 bucks for 8 or 20 for 10, whatever it was. And I bring it home and I take them out, and there are like color breaking creases all through in them. One had like what looked to be like a coffee stain all on the back of the book. And I'm like, these books are nowhere near very fine near mint. They'd be lucky if they're very good. I mean, they look almost just like the books that he has in his 50-cent and dollar bins. So I was like, okay, I'm never going to buy a made set from him again, because obviously they're not as stated. That's a waste of my time. I've been overcharged. There where, I do, because I always, whenever I bring it up and I say, I make sure I separate them like dollar bin, 50-cent bin. And then I'll see the charge on my card, and I know the total in my head. I see the charge on my card. And it was over. That's happened at least twice there, where I had to call back, and finally they did reimburse it, so that was good. But I'm just like, were you thinking it wasn't worth $1 anymore? This is what's in my head. I told you it's in the 50-cent bin, but you're like, oh well, maybe that shouldn't be in the 50-cent bin. I'm gonna charge you $2, and maybe you didn't think that I'd look at my bank statement and realize it. I don't know. Maybe it was an honest mistake. But after what happened today, man, I don't know. So. I've stayed away from this shop because I really, I kept getting turned off. I'm not spending as much money on 50-cent dollar books anymore. And I kept getting turned off because they're not in order as well. None of the bins are in order. I mean, they're said alphabetical order, but it's just, they're not. You know, you got O's in the L box and L's in the P box, and it's just all over the place. I don't think the owner has organized his store in the last 9 years at all. Okay, and I'm not even exaggerating by saying that. So I got turned off. I'm tired of the 50 cent and dollar books, like not even being worth. They're just in bad condition. They're not even worth 50 cents to $1 anymore. I mean, this is what I found today. I found a few, and I was like, okay, whatever. Like this Mr. Miracle for $1, and it's a mess. Look at this. I mean, this isn't even worth $1, and I didn't even notice that picking it up, but I was like, whatever. There's a huge color breaking crease, but this isn't what I'm complaining about, guys. I mean, I bought the book, so I'm not complaining about it. But my point is this: that's why I stayed away from them. But I go in there today, you know, and I did buy a couple of books that he writes on them. This was $4, whatever. Cloak and Dagger #1. It's in a, I don't know, it might be like a fine condition. I got a Gambit #2 for $2. You know, it's beat up. It's got color breaking spine ticks. Oh, look at this. Yeah, it's got like what looks to be a coffee stain down there. This is not even worth $2. I didn't notice that. But again, that's on me. I mean, at least he has it priced right. So here's, you guys are like, get to the point, right? You got to understand context in the history. So I go in there today, and I'm digging through the dollar bin, and I find a Vision and Scarlet Witch issue 10 in the 12-issue series. I find it in the dollar bin. Now, keep in mind, this book, I didn't buy it. I pulled it out and I was going to buy it, but I didn't. I'll tell you why. This book was in an old, it was even worse than this. It was in an old, because I think this is even a polypropylene. It was in an old polyethylene bag that was starting to yellow, no backing board. The flap was all, you know, like this and all messed up. The book had color breaking spine ticks. It was, I'm telling you, it was dingy and dirty. It had some rounding of the edges. It was maybe a very good copy. I didn't pull it out of the bag, so usually when you pull a book out of the bag, it exposes even more defects. So I pulled it out. I put it in my stack. I go up there, you know, I'm like, so I gave him the 2 that were marked. I handed him those. He looks at them. He knows that they're marked. And then I said, there was a couple that there was like 2 that were 50 cents. I forget. So I had the WandaVision, or the Vision in Scarlet Witch #10 in with the dollar books. I said, these were from the $1. These were from 50 cents. And he grabs them. He looks through them. He's looking at him, and he says, oh yeah. Wow. I've been looking at the Vision and Scarlet Witch. Shows it to him. He's like, yeah, oh man. People have been really asking about this. I didn't even know I had one back there. I'm like, oh yeah. That show really, you know, was popular, and yeah, you know, just trying to small talk. I was like, yeah, that white vision. And then we were just talking it up. I'm like, yeah, I wonder what they'll do with them, if he'll stay around in the MCU. And then he puts them all in. He's like, yeah, I can't sell you that for $1. I got to get more than $1 for that. Do you still want it? I mean, I can sell it to you for like $5. And I was like, yeah, nah, I'm good. What's the total? All right. Peace. Whew. All right. Here's the thing. Let me add some context. That book right now, issue #10 isn't a key book. You got issue #1, and you got the first appearance of the kids. I forget which issue that is off the top of my head. All right. Is it issue 12? I don't know. I'm sure some of you know. You can leave it in the comments. Issue #10 is not a key at all. Even with the hype of WandaVision, the highest raw sale, which was like a couple months ago, was $12. And that's a, you know, near mint copy. Average sale, $6. Recent low sales is low, anywhere from 2 something to 99 cents. Okay. So even if you look at fair market value, you know, over the last few months with the hype of the show, this book in the condition that it was in might have been worth about $5. Okay. But here's the thing. The book was in a dollar bin. You put it there. If you don't believe the price that you tag your books is the price that you should be tagging your books, that's on you. That's on you. Don't take it out on me and try to upcharge me because you don't want to take the time to organize your business, to go through your comic books. Let me tell you the flip side story of this. I did a video of Journo's Journeys, I think it was episode 2, where I went to Comics and Collectibles in South Sacramento. I went there my first time ever going there. I asked the owner, can I film your store? I'm doing a little bit. Oh yeah, go right ahead. Did my little video, and then I was like, all right, let's get into buying some books. And I saw he had this kind of table, and he had some long boxes underneath the table, and the table said 50 cents with the arrow pointing down. And I was like, excuse me, are all those boxes under that table 50-cent books? And he was like, yep. So I went a digging. And I noticed that some of the boxes were, you know, some of the books were like newer books, like overstock. They weren't bagged and board. They were like newer Marvel and DC overstock. I grabbed a few of those. But then there was some nicely, freshly bagged and boarded 1980s G.I. Joe. High grade too. G.I. Joe, Power Man and Iron Fist. And I think some Wolverines or something like that. Some early Wolverines. High grade, freshly bagged and boarded. And I was like, okay, 50 cents, sweet. I brought them up to the counter. And I was like, all you said, all those 50 cents, or something happened where he looked at the books. He was like, oh, where did you grab these books? And I told him, I was like, those are 50 cents, right? He was like, oh, shoot. He was like, you know what? Those boxes, you got those from those boxes? Yeah, those boxes were actually moved from that spot because look, we had a leak, and he showed me. We walked over there and he showed me, and I saw where the leak was. I'm like, oh crap. He's like, yeah, we just like moved it. We must have moved them over yesterday after we closed and fixed the leak, and we didn't move them back. And you know what he did though? He said, it's all good. He brought me back to the counter, charged me 50 cents a book for those. And I had a stack. And he could have easily sold those books for probably $3, $4, $5 plus. Early G.I. Joes, like issues like 30s in the 40s. I mean, you can easily, near mint condition, you can easily sell those for $5 plus. And he gave them to me for 50 cents. Why? Because he knows how to run a business. Because he knew how to run a business. Now, when I go back to Comics and Collectibles, I will be so happy to go dig through some more G.I. Joes and Power Man and Iron Fist and pay $4, $5, $6 for him. And I'll be giving him my business again. This store, I will never go back in there again. I will never set foot in that store again. I'm done. That's it. Because you don't do that. You do not change the price on your book when a customer brings it up to the counter. Because guess what? You should be paying me. Pay me an hourly wage because I just did work for you. I just did work for you because something happened to a book, because of a TV show, because of spec. I went and found it for you. I went digging for you and brought it up to you. And you decided that it was worth more money. And he wrote on the bag with this Sharpie right in front of me, 5, and slapped it down. I did your work for you. So pay me. Pay me. I will never go in that store again. So that's the icing on the cake. You don't do it. You own up. If you are not staying on top of pricing your books correctly, and I don't care if there wasn't a price tag on the book. It was in the dollar bin. That's the price tag. Same thing. It's a price tag. Because your bin says $1 books. And it was in there. And here's the funny thing. I know it's been in there. Because I have that book, by the way. I have issue 10 already. I have almost that whole run. You know where I got them? Even multiple copies of number 1. You know where I got them? Out of his bins. Out of his bins. Like years ago. Like probably 5, 6 years ago. When they were really worth $1 before WandaVision, right? So they were in there. And it's been in there. He did not do his job. to make sure he prices his books. And look, it's funny, when I go into shops like this, it drives me crazy because I want to tell the owners, like, hey, why don't you, like, you know, pay me in some store credit and I'll, like, organize your books for you. I would so love to go into that store and say, hey, grab me a couple of fresh bags and boards, and I got a sticker gun. Where's my sticker gun? I'll bring my own sticker gun. And I'll say, yo, I'll pull out my my phone. I'll have cover price. You know, when eBay sold on my phone, I'll go through these and price them up for you, bag them, board them, get them nice and fresh looking, you know, and organize them ABC order so they're actually freaking in order. Even his back issues that are priced and that have tabs, he has divider tabs, they're not even in order. It's a mess. It's like, I would love to organize, but for him, it's no more of this store. I'm done. So, moral of the story, folks, and if you ever think about owning a store or working at a store, or if you do own a store or work at a store, communicate with your team, communicate with management and ownership. Make sure your books are priced. Have a staff. If the owner can't do it, have a staff that makes sure that say, okay, you're going to spend 30 minutes a day. That's it. Say you work a 6-hour shift or an 8-hour shift or whatever, 5-hour shift. Take 30 minutes a day to review. You could pull up Key Collector app, and it's so easy. I mean, you could pull up app alerts, you know, or spec alerts or whatnot. Even cover prices databases where you can look at spec alerts. You can read the news, what's going on in the MCU today, any trailers, any announcements, any castings, DCEU, TV shows, Disney Plus, all that stuff. Spend 30 minutes a day. If anything new comes up, you write it down, and then you do your research. Which issues would pertain to these? And then you go find them and see if the value has gone up. And then you can mark them up if you want. And on top of that, though, at least once a week. At least once a week. It should be done every day. Because you got people going through back issue bins every day. You know, pulling something out and probably saying, no, I changed my mind, I don't want that. And they'll throw it somewhere else, right? It should be happening every day. But for a smaller store like this, I'll say once a week. Once a week, you have somebody that actually goes through your back issue bins and does like an hour of reorganizing. If you can't do that, then maybe you shouldn't be in business. It's that simple. Because guess what? You don't have my business anymore. So, and hey, I may just be one fish in the sea, but, you know, and I also think this guy makes his money off of rentals. It's a college town, and every time I go in there, there's college kids, you know, getting DVD and Blu-ray rentals, and, you know, he does, like I said, gaming. So I don't even know if he makes too much money off of his comic books. I know he has pull lists. He probably has a loyal customer base that gets a pull list because it's the only comic book store in that town. So, you know, but when it comes to his back issues, I'm telling you, like, he ain't selling too many back issues because it's the same ones that are in there every time I go in there. So that's what I got for you guys today. Sorry for the rant, but I feel like it needed to be said. This is a horrible, horrible experience that no collector should have, and no business owner should operate a business like this. So that's my piece. Let me know what you guys think or thought of my experience of the shop in the comments below. And like, look, I'm sitting here even being the bigger man because I'm not even naming this shop. It ain't even worth it. It ain't even worth it, but good riddance. Thank you guys so much. Subscribe if you aren't subscribed to the channel yet. Leave some comments below. Be well. And until next time.